Should you rent or should you own? Stay tuned to this video because I'm going to do a detailed cost analysis of renting versus owning and what may be best for your personal needs. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Dillon Doucette. I'm a real estate agent servicing the Kitchener-Waterloo region. So if you are looking to buy, sell, or rent property anywhere in the Waterloo region, my email is going to be in the description below. Please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons of both renting and owning. I'm going to start off with the pros and cons of renting. So with renting, the first major pro you're going to have is the flexibility. When you're renting, as long as it's after your 1-year lease is expired, you only need to give 60 days notice to move out. So if you are in a situation where maybe you're moving from city to city, or you don't really know if you want to live in that city long term, renting may be beneficial due to its flexibility. Another benefit is the low amount of capital you have to put into it. When you go and rent a house or apartment, you only need to put your first and last month's rent. This could be anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000, opposed to a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 down payment on a house. So if you don't have tons of money stashed away, renting is going to be in your favor. As well, one thing I find is the monthly expenses to renting in a lot of situations are less than if you were to actually go out and buy that property. And you're going to see that in the financial breakdown I have in this video. And another pro of renting is the low amount of maintenance you have to do. When you own a home, that's your home. You have to take care of it, you have to maintain it, you have to take care of all the different things. Whereas if you're renting, unless you're owning a condo, if you're renting, the landlord is supposed to take care of different fixtures, the outdoors of the property and all the landscaping and the roof and the utilities, all the different things in the home the landlord is responsible for. So you don't have to worry about if the roof leaks or if something breaks in the home, your landlord is going to repair that and not you. So it gives you that extra kind of peace of mind, as long as you have a good landlord. Sometimes landlords are a little bit slimy with this stuff. Now, the first major con to renting is that you're not building any kind of equity. Every month, if you're paying $2,500 a month in rent, that's $2,500 that's essentially being just thrown out the window and just being used to rent where you're living. You're not paying down a mortgage and you're not getting any appreciation. The home you're living in could be skyrocketing in value and you're not benefiting from it. So that's the first major thing. You could be renting for 30 years and at the end of it, you don't own anything. Whereas if you have a home for 30 years, you pay down the mortgage and now you own a home mortgage free. The next con with renting is sometimes you have to move out of the unit even if you don't exactly want to. There's certain situations to where if the landlord decides to put the home you're living in up for sale and the person who buys it wants to live in it, you got to move out. So sometimes there's situations where you're renting and you like where you rent, but you got to move anyways. Whereas if you own a home, as long as you're making all the payments on it, you can continue to live there. And it's up to you and you're in control and you're in charge. Whereas when you're renting, you're living in someone else's house, so you don't have as much control over certain things. The next con with renting is how difficult it is to actually get a place to rent. In recent months and years, there's been a lot of times to where tenants, people who are looking to rent a place, have had to apply to multiple places, different houses and apartments to finally get accepted. Because in Ontario, the Landlord-Tenant Board and all the rules and regulations are so strict, landlords will oftentimes turn away a lot of different tenants and be very, very selective with the tenants they select to allow to rent their house or apartment. This leads to a lot of people who would be good tenants and have good income and all these different things, but because for whatever reason, they get turned away. Now, there are certain regulations to where landlords can't discriminate, but I feel like that kind of goes out the window a lot of the time. And there's not too much you can do about it unless you want to be in a wait line at the Landlord-Tenant Board, which oftentimes isn't worth it and it's better off just to go find something else. Now on to the pros and cons of owning a home. The first major pro is principal pay down. Every month that you make your mortgage payments, you're paying down your mortgage. Slowly over time, every month you're paying it down. Whereas when I said with renting, you can pay rent for 30 years and you still don't own it. After 25 or 30 years of paying down your mortgage, you will own the home free and clear, meaning that you don't have monthly payments and you'll have a ton of equity in your home. The next pro is the potential for appreciation. If you've been following the real estate market over the last years, you've realized and understand that the real estate market has been appreciating in value for as long as time, basically. And especially in recent years. People that bought a home 10 years ago bought a home for $200,000, and that home is now worth $700,000 or $800,000. So even at these high real estate values, we've seen how high prices can go with how prices were in early 2022. And I wouldn't be surprised in 5 or 10 years if prices go back up to that rate. So if you own a home, you're opening yourself up to the potential to see a lot of appreciation on your home down the line. The next pro of home ownership is the flexibility that comes along with it and what you can do with the home. If you own a home and you decide, I don't want to live there anymore, you don't have to sell it. You can go and rent it out to somebody and have that cover your mortgage and go buy another home. If you're renting, you can't do that. You can go and renovate your home. You don't like your kitchen? No problem. I'm going to go hire a contractor and have my kitchen renovated. Oh, I want to go and change this or change that. Whatever you want to do, as long as it's legal and you have a permit for it, you can do it because it's your home. You own it. If you want to tear down your house and build a bigger house, as long as you get the approval from the city and building permits, you can do it. Whereas if you're renting, you don't have that option. In some rentals, you can't even paint the walls. So when you own a home, it's up to you. You have complete control. Whereas it's the opposite when you're renting. And carrying on with my last point, you can rent out your home. This gives you and opens up a completely new opportunity to build some serious wealth through being a real estate investor. Once you have your first home, you can leverage the equity in that home to buy another property. You can continue living in your home, refinance that home that you're living in, pull equity out or take savings, and buy another property and continue to build on that. You can fix up your home, build a lot of equity in it, sell it, and upsize into a bigger home. And you can use that as a stepping stone to build wealth into either having multiple investment properties that you could eventually retire off of, or build your way up into living in your dream home. Whereas you don't have that opportunity in renting unless you're going to skyrocket your personal income to where you can afford to pay $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month to go rent some really expensive home, which oftentimes you can't even rent those homes. You have to buy them. Now, for the cons of home ownership, your big con is going to be all of the maintenance. You own the home, you have to take care of it. You got to make sure that the lawn is taken care of. The roof, if it leaks, you're responsible for that. Your furnace breaks down, you got to pay for that. Water heaters, your electric, different wear and tear on the home. Anything that goes wrong in that house, you got to pay for. Whereas when you're renting, you're not liable for that. So you got to have some savings and some cash reserves for if something happens to your home, you can repair it. The next con of home ownership is sometimes you can't sell your home, or you really shouldn't, and to where you're kind of stuck where you are. A lot of people that bought homes in early 2022 aren't going to be able to sell their homes for a long time because they owe more on their home than what their home's worth. They bought a home for $1.2 million. They have a mortgage for $950,000 in that home, and that home's only worth $850,000. So if they wanted to sell that house and move, they would have to give the bank a check for $100,000 just to move out of the house, which who's going to do that? Nobody. So either you're going to continue living in that house and just learn to like it, or you're going to absolutely decimate your credit, which is not a good situation. Sometimes when the markets go down and you bought at a high price, you're going to have to ride that out until the housing prices go back up. So you don't have anywhere near the amount of flexibility when owning a home than when you rent. Because whether the market goes up, down, or sideways, if you're renting, 60 days notice and you can move out. Whereas with a home, it's not that easy. Sometimes you can sell your house really fast, and sometimes you can just rent it out. But there are certain situations where you can put yourself in a bit of a pickle if you don't play your cards right. Overall, on these basic pros and cons, it really depends on your personal situation on whether you should be renting or buying. If you don't have as much capital, or you perhaps aren't going to be living in a certain area for a long time and you're going from one city to the next, maybe renting works for you. Whereas if you want to lay down roots or build wealth, owning a home is the way to go. Now I'm going to do a detailed cost analysis on renting versus owning a condo. I was able to find two basically identical condos in downtown Kitchener. They're both 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo apartments. One's on the 7th floor, one is on the 8th floor of 108 Garmet in downtown Kitchener. A very desirable new build condo building. And these two units have basically identical floor plans, they're just mirrored. So I'm going to break down the cost to rent the 1-bedroom unit and then the cost to mortgage the one that recently sold. Now for owning, I was able to find a basically identical unit, as I said, unit 801, which is just one floor above and then one unit over. They have the same view, basically identical floor plan. This unit sold for $435,000. This is one of the cheaper units in this complex of condos. There are units that are a lot more expensive, but this one here I found was a pretty good deal, which if you're a first-time buyer and you're deciding versus renting or buying, you're going to be looking for a deal. You're not going to be dropping huge money on the most expensive condo in the building, or at least you shouldn't. So the mortgage on this unit would be $2,696 a month, assuming you put 5% down. So 5% down on the $435,000 would be $21,750. I put this in because most likely, if you are on the fence of renting versus owning, you probably don't have loads of money kicking around and you're sort of maybe have some savings, but you don't have tons of money sitting around, because if you had that kind of money, you would just go ahead and buy. So that means that mortgage payment includes mortgage insurance. Now, if you were to put 20% down, which would be around $80,000, your payment would go down to $2,024. Some other expenses you would have if you went down the route of buying a condo is you would have to pay your property taxes, your condo fees, and your hydro. So the condo fees on this unit are $279 a month. You're also going to be paying $225 a month in property taxes and another $100 a month for hydro. Same if you're renting or buying, assuming you don't sit there and take 2-hour-long hot showers. That makes your monthly expenses for owning the condo $3,300 a month, assuming you put 5% down. If you put 20% down, that number goes down to $2,600 a month. So it really depends on how much money you have to put down. And the more you put down, the lower that monthly expense becomes, because that's the lower amount of money you're going to owe on your mortgage, which is the less amount of money you have to pay down over time. Now, if you're to go down the route of renting, rent for the identical unit, unit 712, which is just one floor below and one floor over, same view, mirrored floor plan, very similar unit, would be $1,950 a month. With that, you would still also have to pay tenant's insurance as well as hydro. So your tenant's insurance would be roughly $50 a month, and then an estimate of another $100 a month for your hydro. That leaves you with a total of $2,100 a month to rent the condo. So as you'll notice, it's a lot, or at least a good amount less monthly to rent than it is to own. But you have to weigh the pros and cons. If you own the condo, you can see appreciation over time. Whereas if you're renting, you're never going to be able to have that. So a lot of times it could be beneficial to pay that extra amount every month, because at least you're paying down your mortgage, and hopefully if you buy a good deal and you don't overpay, you'll see appreciation over time. Alright, so that's all I have on today's video on renting versus buying. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Would you rather rent or would you rather own? I'd love to hear from you. As well, if you are looking to make a move in the Waterloo region, as I've said before, I'm a real estate agent in the area, so I'd love to be able to help you. My email and phone number are going to be in the description below, so please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to be able to help you. Besides that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video.